The story begins as a couple of immortals play a game of chess. The immortal Lee explains how his time of leisure, are always short-lived. His most recent headache has to do with how he owes someone a debt of gratitude. He had once promised to accept an old acquaintance's descendant as his disciple if a message was ever sent via black incense. However, for the past 3 years, every time the incense has been lit, it has gone out very soon, after causing him to go on a search. Just then the incense is lit for the 13th time in those 3 years, and leaves determined to see who this person is that keeps toying with him on Earth. We see that the person that keeps lighting the incense is our protagonist's name. He reminds himself to stay calm, so that this time he can follow through with sending the message to the immortal instead of running away again. The ritual is just as dangerous as ever, as Bai runs from lightning strikes and villagers from Bai's village pray to the immortal. They all call Bai the white weasel, but the head of the village demands they be more kind to Bai as they all watch them grow up. Back on the mountain, Bai is ready to give up once again, but is shocked when a voice from above scolded him for toying with the black incense. Lydia Mordo finally reveals himself, and Bai explains that he has been waiting for more than 3 years. Lee wants an explanation for why the terrified Bai has attempted to call him more than 10 times while running away every time. Bai explains that his parents died at an early age and the villagers all acted as second parents to him. Everyone knew that lighting the incense would call upon the immortal that would take Bai away as a disciple. So every time he lit the incense, the villagers would all beg for Bai to stay. So he did. Lee is amazed at how loyal Bai is at such a young age, and Bai explains that he is now ready to begin training to become an immortal, so he can live forever. Lee agrees to take him, but Bai explains that he would like a moment to say goodbye to the village head. Bai says that the head is the one who can't bear to part with him the most, but a look into the village shows that he is thinking the heavens that I will be leaving. The villagers celebrate as well, but is short-lived as Bai promises to visit them again one day. Lee then takes Bai to the immortal sector to begin training. By his surprise, however, when he is left behind and greeted by a man named Zhang who states that the fire kitchen has a newcomer there. Introduction is soon interrupted by a man named Bao who is upset to see that the fire kitchen has accepted someone weak like Bai in such an underhanded way. Bao explains that he has painstakingly skimped on food and other expenses for 7 years to buy spirit stones that he thought would help him get into the fire kitchen. He is certain that Bai has taken a spot from him, and attempts to hurt Bai. Zhang saves Bai just in time and schooled Bao for not behaving properly as a second-level cultivator. Zhang warns him to stop fighting, but Bao makes Bai his sworn enemy. He casts a challenge on him and explains that when the time comes one of them will have to die. Bao makes his escape, and Zhang explains to Bai that he will be fine as long as he doesn't try to fight Bao afterwards. Zhang explains that the fire kitchen makes food for the elders, and all the ingredients are high-grade food that provides spiritual power for training. Bai is the 9th member of the fire kitchen and is taken to his divine instrument selection ceremony. He assumes that he will have to choose between different amazing artifacts, but is shocked to find that there are just walks. Bai is a bit hesitant since he doesn't think he can carry one, but Zhang points out that it will show that he belongs to the fire kitchen and people will avoid bullying him. After some time, Bai finally Lisa likes a walk to call his own as everyone laughs at how it looks like a turtle shell. Zhang then explains that there are 10 key consideration levels. The higher your level, the more techniques you can master. After all 10 key consideration levels are reached, a person may cultivate to the foundation establishment realm. In this sector, where the fire kitchen is, disciples can only achieve level 3 key consideration, and will have to move to the outer sector to achieve higher levels. He explains that the entire process will take a very long time though, and Bai realizes that he will have to work hard to be able to protect himself. That night, Bai struggles with the training as he hears a strange noise and wonders if Bao has come for him. A look into the kitchen, however, reveals that the other members are indulging in food outside. Though we see that Bao is actually there, he exclaims that Bai won't be able to hide in the fire kitchen forever, and when he leaves, Bao vows to eliminate him back inside. Bai explains that he can't eat anymore and promises not to tell anyone that they all ate spiritual food. It is explained to him that since he just started, it's important for Bai to rely on the food to eliminate the impurities in his body. Their bond grows as they continue eating more spiritual food, and Bai is shocked to find that his body is burning. The next morning, Bai is surprised to see that his body doesn't ache when training anymore, and he can feel qi circulating in his body. He is more determined than ever to train, and after some time passes, he's excited to see that he can control his spiritual power, becomes hungry and cooks a grain of spiritual rice in his wok and is a bit surprised by the result. Later the others point out how they were worried since they haven't seen Bai in some time, but he explains that he had just gotten very serious with his training. Zhang is amazed at how quickly Bai reached the first key consideration level, and Bai credits the glowing rice he ate. Everyone laughs as there is no such thing as glowing rice and they don't have items like that unless they are refined. They go on to explain that the ability to refine is quite far away from where Bai is in his training, but he will most likely do a certain type of refining at some point. Furthermore, there are 3 types of refining weapons to make them stronger, refining elixirs to perfect their formulas, and the last is spiritual refining. Spiritual refining is extremely rare and very few have the hope of accomplishing it. It requires the pouring of living key of the world into an item by force. Every time this is successful, the refining will leave behind a unique engraving, and the resulting power doubles with every successful refinement. That night Bai wonders if his grain of rice was spirit refined, and if his wok is actually a divine instrument that can perform spirit refinement. He decides that he needs to test it. Life to make sure he would live for as long as possible, but now forsakes his wok for ruining all his hard work. He then surprisingly finds that he is able to absorb and summon his wok at will as he is called to come out by Zhang. Bai begins to blame Bao for how hard he has been training. The intense training led to him spirit refining, and now he has lost a bit of his life. Becomes enraged and calls out Bao as he is ready to fight him. Now it is explained, however, that Bao has gone missing and most likely gave up, but he's upset since he lost his lifespan for nothing. But another member overhears him and reveals that completing a newly available mission will reward a person with a year-long lifespan extension. Afterwards, Bai heads to town to buy supplies for the mission, but he doesn't have enough money there. He is encountered by Bao, who points out how no one is there to save him this time, but Bai reveals that he was ready to fight anyway. 2 other men joined Bao, however, and Bai instantly changes his mind. Bao quickly chases after him, and we see that the other Fire Kitchen members are searching for Bai. One of the men that accompanied Bao explains that they are from the supervision department there to oversee the fight between Bai and Bao. Zhang couldn't care less though, and explains that he can take him out easily nearby. Bao initiates the fight with Bai, and Bai finally defends himself with his refined sword. We then watch Zhang fight the supervisor. They are both evenly matched as Level 3 key consideration cultivators, and the fight shows it just stand there. Fight stops as they can all tell that someone is about to be killed. Zhang fears the worst as he assumes Bai has lost his fight to Bao, and the supervisor tells him that his Fire Kitchen members need to improve their skills. However, everyone is shocked when they find that Bai had actually won the fight. Bio unleashes his rage as he blames Bao for him losing his lifespan. With Bao now defeated, the spell cast on Bai is lifted, and Bai promises to take revenge once more if he isn't able to regain his lifespan. The supervisor is shocked to see that a new disciple has defeated the powerful Bao, but Bao shockingly reveals the Bai has actually reached level 3 key consideration. Afterwards, it is announced to everyone that there will be an advancement trial for anyone willing to participate. It is the only opportunity to advance to the outer sector, and the competition will be fierce as they only accept the top 3 candidates. Zhang explains that their Fire Kitchen group never participates in the event, but Bai thinks that it's time for a change. Sometime later, villagers point out how strange it is that the Fire Kitchen is so quiet elsewhere. A group discussed how they will be fighting for the top spot, and are surprised by the arrival of the Ohio family. Everyone runs away as an unusual girl emerges from the carriage, and are more interested in the fact that the Fire Kitchen has decided to participate in the trial. Bai arrives and is surprised to see so many people there. He explains to Zhang that no matter what, they need to stick with their plan, and he agrees to go along with it. The trial then begins as we see what our group has planned. The Fire Kitchen members intend to take all 3 spots themselves, but realize that they must have a thorough plan to do so. However, everyone is shocked when Bayer reveals his plan to simply wait. The highly competitive trial will ensure that the beginning fights will be intense. So Bai wants them to sit back while everyone exhausts each other and they conserve their strength. The group trained endlessly for the trial, but are shocked to find it's more intense than expected. The rest of the group must eventually participate in the battle, so that Bai can run ahead. The higher they climb, the more their movement is restricted. But other participants are shocked to see that Bai isn't affected one bit as other members of the fire kitchen make their way up the mountain. They encounter Chen, the supervisor. Chen thinks it's strange how the fire kitchen has always been the most profitable sector with no reason to participate in the trials, and wonders what is different. This time Chen's attempt to keep up with the group fails though, and he is left behind to make empty threats elsewhere. Bai arrives in the dangerous area and remember some information Zhang gave him. He revealed that the final hurdle of the trial will involve 5 wooden pillars erected in the mud. Controlling the floating rocks in a certain order will open the passage. Zhang explained that the trial isn't so difficult, and he wouldn't even die if he fell, but Bai isn't so sure that is true. He begins his attempt at arranging the pieces of land, but is afraid the entire time. Bai gets to the point where only one piece needs to be moved, and he barely makes the jump. A bird helps him for a moment, but it leaves, and Bai screams as he falls to his death. He wakes up seconds later, however, to find that he is still alive and finally completed the trial. The other members arrived shortly after, and are told that once the 3 of them pass a gate, they will officially become outer sector disciples. Finally beginning their path to immortality, 2 other participants arrive, disappointed to see that they are too late, but Bai shocks everyone when he states that his group isn't quite ready yet. Bai speaks out loud as he explains how sad he is to be leaving his brothers in the fire kitchen. He hates having to make the decision to leave, but explains that he must since they sacrificed so much to reach the end of the trial. Bai wants to be even more dramatic and states that his brother has even gone thin from hunger. In even more dramatic fashion, skipping meals has caused his brother to faint, and Bai reveals that he will give up outer sector spots for 200 spirit stones each. Bai then gives an emphatic speech about pursuing dreams and beginning their path to immortality. One of the men realizes that he will have no need for the spirit stones when he becomes immortal, and gives his life savings to Bai. He is ready to live his dream, but the man overseeing the entire trial stops everything and reveals that they are openly defying the trial rules. However, when Bai asks what rule was broken, the man can't think of one. Bai then shows off his knowledge of the rules as he begins to recite each one. Hours pass as we see that Bai had studied the rules to a great extent and finishes up relaying all 386 rules to the overseer. Since they aren't violating any rules, Bai goes on with the transaction and takes bids for the other 2 spots. Several people make large offers up to 300 stones, but the strange girl from the Hu family arrives to offer 10 times as much. Bai is shocked by her offer, but graciously accepts, and she has officially made the second outer sector disciple. Chen soon arrives, upset to see what is happening, but the overseer explains to him that they aren't breaking any rules. He does point out how this is the first instance of this happening and instructs everyone to follow him to the law enforcement hall. They all agree, as they are confident they aren't breaking any rules. Chen, however, isn't satisfied at all and sends Bai towards the gate in order to force him into becoming an outer sector disciple.